it looks like those 50% tariffs, which were scheduled to go on hundreds of items, will not. Although there's still some negotiating to be done, and there's a deadline that we're coming up against midnight tomorrow, where that will be either those tariffs will be further delayed, or we will have a deal that takes them off the table. So not just your hockey equipment, but lots of other things too. Things that home builders and industrial manufacturers in the U.S. Might be interested in, stuff like plywood, certain cement items. There's consumer goods. It was this sort of mixed bag of things that the U.S. put out there and said, we're going to hit all these things unless you start negotiating. And on the face of it, at least, that pressure tactic seems to have worked.
Derek, what's the feeling of Canadians as it relates to tariffs and the ongoing tariff, I guess, discussions between the U.S. and Canada? Is there just fatigue about it all? Is there a sense of anti-Americanism? What's the feeling up in Canada these days as it relates to tariffs?
I'd say, it's complicated, and obviously, it depends on the politics of who you talk to. So last year, there was, I would say, at the beginning of this, the overall sense was betrayal. What do you mean there's going to be all of these tariffs? Trump signed a trade deal with Canada in his first term. That deal is not very old, So I would say it's now a little bit more mixed. That sense still exists. There are still anti-American signs and bumper stickers out there. There's also some fatigue. Within the business community, there is also a bit of a sense of, we have to get something so that we get certainty, so we can move on, because the longer you had this hanging out there of tariffs could go up and down on any particular day, the harder it is, particularly for manufacturers, to make investment decisions. And so 18 months of this is quite a long time. And there has been a current of thinking in parts of the business community that, like, even if we have to accept something that looks like a bad deal, that is better than no deal. So it's complicated. If you look at public opinion surveys, there's still a lot of appetite for people retaliating, and there's still lots of people avoiding trips and tourism from Canada to the U.S. All these things are still way down. Yeah.
It's not just Canadians avoiding traveling to the U.S. for vacation or perhaps selling their second home, but also there are these bans on sales of U.S. wine and spirits. And I know this is something that the Trump administration has been very focused on. As much as there's a discussion between Canada and the U.S. on tariffs and whatnot, how much control or how much oversight does Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, and his administration have over what individual provinces do when it comes to banning sales of U.S. alcohol?
I mean, the provinces control that, but Carney certainly, he's got moral suasion, and that's what he's trying to exercise. He met with the premiers of the provinces yesterday to kind of outline, some of the broad terms of the deal. We don't know how much detail he got into because the deal is not done yet. Aspects of this are still being negotiated. He can't actually force the Premier of Ontario or the Premier of Quebec to put that stuff back. But what he can say, and what we believe he is saying, is, if you don't put it back, our whole deal is going to fall apart, because that thing was such a visible, in your face kind of countermeasure. And the reason that the provinces did it it's actually one of the few levers they had, right? Provincial governments, they can't do tariffs. They don't control the border, but they do control that. And that's why they went down that route. And it clearly bugged the U.S. side. And that's why they stuck with it.